Okay, before I do the reaction video, I got another book from the library. The Mystery of the Exploding Teeth. And other curiosities from medical history. Can't wait to read that one. Anyway, we are also looking into the mystery of the Jameson family. I think these are the guys that all had the mass hallucination. Let's watch them.
This week on Buzzfeed Unsolved, we cover the case of the Jameson family, a case that's as odd as it is creepy. There's a lot of weird circumstance that surround this one. It's the woods. There's some images in here that keep you wondering.
The woods are intriguing. Last time we were in the woods was the Ketty cabins.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I didn't care for it.
Well, let's get into it.
On October 8th, 2009, the Jameson family, comprised of Bobby Dale Jameson, age 44, Sherilyn Leanne Jameson, age 40, and their 6-year-old daughter,
Oh, this is the one that.
Madison
Oh,
Stormy
this is the
Star
murder
Jameson,
mystery.
were seen for the last time before vanishing. The family, who lived in Eufaula, Oklahoma at the time of their disappearance, was last seen by a man who lived in the mountains in southeastern Oklahoma. However, the man told authorities that he only saw the family and nobody else in the area during that time. Officially, the Jamesons were near this area to view a 40-acre plot of land that they were looking to purchase. Bizarrely, they planned to live on that land in a storage container that they already owned on their current property in Eufaula.
I know.
I mean, that's kind of weird, but there is a home in the Sims 4 gallery for the Moonwood Mill that has storage container elements in it.
A lot of people who do that. Tiny houses. You seen the tiny houses movement?
I don't think they were the tiny house type.
Well, a storage container is tiny. They're going to live in it.
But
and
you're
make
thinking
their
of
house.
it being like decked out, like with beautiful decor, a cool use of the space.
Yeah.
I think this was like, let's throw some sleeping bags in there kind of situation.
That's it? I'm just saying if it's nice enough to say, hey, we're bringing this container all the way over from our old plot of land, clearly there was something about that container that was maybe luxurious or maybe customized or...
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
decked
that's,
out.
that's fair.
That's a
That's fair. I'll take
point.
it.
Thanks.
On October 16th, 8 days after the Jamesons were last seen alive, the first major discovery in the case occurred.
Are they like at the site? No, wait, this is like a recreation. Very impressive how I can
Hunters
miss
in a
without
remote
looking at
location in the woods,
my scarf.
about a quarter-mile away from the Jamesons' last known location, discovered the Jamesons' truck, abandoned and still locked.
And with the identifying markers removed so they don't have to pay copyright to the truck company. This is creepy.
Inside the truck, investigators found Bobby's wallet, Sherilyn's purse, jackets, a GPS, Bobby's cell phone, $32,000 cash in a bank bag
That was a
stashed
bit
below
sus.
the driver's seat, and finally, the Jamesons'
Oh,
pet
the
dog,
doggy.
Maisie, who was malnourished and incredibly still alive. Bobby's cell phone
Oh,
found in the
gosh, a
truck
puppy.
contained a photo of his daughter Madison, which was believed to have been taken the day before they disappeared. One key observation was that the truck showed no evidence of any kind of struggle. Former Latimer County Sheriff Israel Beecham would eventually state, quote, "I think they were forced to stop and got out of the truck to meet with someone they recognize, and I think they either left willingly or by force," end quote.
Signs that point to them maybe leaving on their own accord would be they seem possibly like off-the-grid types. They're living in a storage
Yeah, but why
container.
would they
So,
forget their
if you were
dog?
living willingly, why wouldn't you take your dog with you?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying is against the willingly, which would make me think it was against their will, is if someone had them at gunpoint, maybe they'd leave the dog. Because you bring that dog with you, it can... That's
Yeah.
very handy in a survival situation, depending on what kind of dog it is.
Also,
Yeah.
at gunpoint, you're not really in the position to make demands. You can't be like, could I bring my dog, though?
What about Maisie?
The GPS unit in the truck indicated that the family had been farther up a nearby hill prior to the location where their truck and belongings were found. investigators followed the GPS coordinates, and it's there that they found footprints. One day later, on October 17th, over 300 people, including authorities and volunteers, formed a large-scale air and ground search party. Unfortunately, the leads went cold, and the search for the Jamisons was called off. Which brings us to the case's second major and unfortunate discovery.
The bodies.
On November 16th, 2013.
That looks like that was just a rock. But they will find skulls. What are they looking at?
Hunters were out scouting for deer hunting locations in the deep woods when they stumbled upon the partial skeletal remains of 3 bodies of 2 adults and 1 child. The remains were discovered less than 3 miles away from where the Jamisons had disappeared over 4 years earlier. The search by officials that followed would uncover shoes, bits of clothing, adult teeth, an adult arm and leg bones, and bone fragments. The bones would eventually be confirmed as the missing Jamison family.
I mean, they don't know how long they were out there?
I guess not, because you would think they would have found it in the initial search, because if it was only, it was less than 3 miles away from the truck,
Though I've said this before, the wilderness is big.
The wilderness is big.
The wilderness is
But-
big. You miss things.
I guess, but not when you have a starting point. A radius of 5 miles, anything within that.
You think maybe they were hiding when the search was going on?
Oh,
maybe
from
up on,
people?
climbed a tree or something?
Why would they do that?
The Oklahoma
Horse at
State Medical
gunpoint?
Examiner, Dr. Joshua Lanter, reported that a cause and manner of death were unknown, possibly due to the fact that the skeletal remains weren't complete. Lanter stated that there was no evidence of trauma, though it couldn't be fully ruled out due to the incomplete remains. Lanter also could not rule out disease. There was also evidence of posthumous damage by animals. Lanter's final report on the case states the deaths occurred under suspicious circumstances.
Yeah, no shit.
This is a morbid thought, but I've always thought that it would be nice to be given back.
Oh, to the earth? Like a recycling kind of thought?
Yeah, just have vultures pick me apart or something.
That's...
That
Well, that-
After
took
I
a weird
die,
turn.
I don't want to.
Well, I mean-
I don't want to be like, oh, I'm feeling old.
I mean, I kind of plan on being composted, which is like legal in the state of California now.
Let me go lay out in the sun.
No, but when you said that, I was picturing Don.
To further specify, it's in a special facility, so it's not like rotten in open air type thing.
dying, and then my body slowly and beautifully decomposing into the ground.
I want
But you
animals
were
to be
picturing-
tearing at my meat, sort of like tug of war with
You
my.
want a
Well, I
vulture
wouldn't
picking
want to
at
get
your
any
eyes.
animals sick.
It's kind of neat.
Other items worth mentioning from the investigation are a missing briefcase and a missing .22 caliber handgun registered to Sherilyn Jamison, both of which were never found. Let's provide some background on the 2 Jamison parents, Bobby and Sherilyn. Both Bobby and Sherilyn were not working at the time of their disappearance due to disabilities and were receiving disability checks. Bobby was on disability due to being in a car accident, though one thing worth noting is that Sherilyn's mother, Connie Kokotan, stated that she did not know of any settlement from the car accident that might explain the $32,000 in cash found in the Jamisons' truck. Neither Kokotan nor anybody else know where this money came from. Former Sheriff Israel Beecham, while on the investigation, stated that there, quote, doesn't appear to be any signs that the Jamisons were in trouble or looking to start a new life, end quote.
This is
One
all
odd
very
wrinkle to the
sus.
case was security footage taken outside the Jamison home. The footage, according to Daily Mail, was from the day that they left and showed the couple making several silent trips between the car and their home.
Oh, I
as
saw
they
those clips.
methodically
They were
packed
kinda
to
creepy.
leave. They were moving in a manner that Beecham described as, quote, trance-like. On the
Inhaled
video,
some dust.
sometimes they would just stop and stare.
If I'm packing all my things and I'm getting ready to leave my life behind, go off the grid. That's a big commitment.
Yeah.
So if I'm loading up my car, like, oh boy, this is it. I'm probably going to be a little trance-like. And in the middle of it, I might stop,
Have a couple pregnant pauses.
look at the sunset, think, what am I doing? What am I doing, man?
Yeah.
Beecham also said, quote, "Normally, you can go through an investigation and one by one start to eliminate certain scenarios. We haven't been able to do that in this case. With this family, everything seems possible." End quote. And with that, let's get into the theories. The first theory is that the family simply got lost in the woods and died from hypothermia and exposure. In the days following their disappearance, the area where the Jamesons were last seen experienced heavy rains, albeit not rain strong enough to cause their deaths. A glance at the farmer's almanac for weather reports in the area at that time showed temperatures of merely 40 degrees at the coldest. As a reminder, the bodies were found only 2.7 miles from their truck.
If you're 2 miles away from your car and you go, oh, it was that way, I know that. If you pick even the slightest wrong direction, suddenly you're way off the mark.
Why
Yeah.
would they leave their cell phone, all their possessions, things that you could use to then get back to your car? These do seem like people that may be wilderness savvy.
You might forget your dog.
Doesn't sound like it
Oh
if they-
no! Oh, I'm talking about if they're looking in that area, if they're looking at a plot of land to maybe live in
Yeah.
a storage container. You
But
gotta
they didn't have anything on them, right? Did they have compasses? Did they have maps?
No, and that's to me. That
Yeah,
to me means
I
they
think
didn't
it might have been,
intend
like,
to go
murder.
on a trip.
If the little daughter got spooked by something, she started running, they ran after her because obviously, holy shit, our daughter.
How fast could a daughter run? She's gonna run 2.7 miles before they catch her.
I don't know if she was trying to get away from him.
How fast is a 6-year-old? What is she, the fucking Flash?
The second theory is that the Jamesons' demise was a murder-suicide scenario. The investigation would turn up a suspicious letter that, according to one report, was 11 pages long and was found in the Jamesons' abandoned truck. The letter is what was called a hate letter, written from Sherilyn to Bobby, in which she accused him of being a hermit. Another letter that was said to mention death was also found in the family home. According to former Sheriff Beecham, quote, "They were certainly a family obsessed with death," end quote.
That's a little
Sherilyn's
nerve-wracking.
mother has repeatedly stated that Bobby and Sherilyn were good parents. Quote, "Like I've said from the very beginning, I think somebody killed them. There's just no
Yeah.
way that Bobby and Sherilyn would ever let anything happen to Madison unless something had been done to them."
Yeah.
You have some marital disputes. That seems minor. I don't-
11 pages is a lot of pages, but
Yeah, but if like the worst
Yeah.
thing you say in it is you're a hermit.
yeah,
Also, if you're gonna murder somebody in the woods, why bring your daughter with you?
yes. Though if you're
Excuse me.
murdering someone, you're probably not in the right frame of mind to begin with.
I suppose, but the mom doesn't think so. Also, it's noteworthy that the mom lived with them for a certain amount of time.
Oh, she did.
So she would have
Yeah.
reference of how they behaved.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our third theory, that the Jamesons were murdered by Bobby Jameson's 67-year-old father, Bob Dean Jameson. Earlier in 2009, approximately 6 months before the family disappeared, Bobby had filed a protective order against his father. Allegedly, Bob had threatened to kill Bobby and his family on 2 separate occasions, in November
Dude.
2008 and April 2009. In the petition, Bobby did not detail how his father had made the threats. He did write that Bob had, quote, "hit me with his vehicle," end quote, on November 1st, 2008. Bobby also wrote that Bob was a, quote, "very dangerous man who thinks he is above the law," end quote, and that he'd been involved with, quote, "prostitutes, gangs, and meth," end quote.
Doesn't look good.
Does not
No.
look good at all.
I mean, that definitely gives motive, and it does seem like.
Seems like the kind of guy who might do that
It
on
also
account of
di-
he threatened to murder.
Yeah, it does seem
And
like
hit
this
your
wasn't
own
a case
kid
like,
with
"Oh, I
like
couldn't
your
see
own
this coming."
car.
It was many warnings were given.
Furthermore, Bobby stated in his petition, quote, "my entire family is severely scared for their lives," end quote, and quote, "I am in fear at all times," end quote. Testimonies were given in the case, and a judge dismissed the protective order on May 18,
Oh, no.
2009. Bobby Jameson was also in the process of suing his father at the time of the Jameson family's disappearance. The gist of the suit was that Bobby would sometimes work for free at his father's gas station,
Dude.
where half the sales had been promised to Bobby but were never paid. Though Bobby and Sherilyn had been described as, quote, "scammers," end quote, by former Sheriff Beecham, as they had also
Really?
previously sued 3 others in 2005 after a car accident. Moreover, Jack Jameson, Bob Dean's brother and Bobby's uncle, claimed that while Bob Dean was, quote, "disturbed at the time," end quote, Jack was, quote, pretty sure he was not capable of being involved in that. End quote.
You wish these stories had a black and white to them.
Yeah, right. Every time you think this is clear cut,
Like,
now
you got this poor family, they turn up in the woods. You feel for them. Now suddenly they're casting doubt upon their characters because they're scammers?
apparently,
They're scammers.
according to the sheriff. That's his opinion.
And now we can't even trust the sheriff because you're casting doubt on him.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he seems like a legitimate investigator. He doesn't have any motive in this to, have a cover-up.
I hate these stories, Ryan.
Bob Dean died in December 2009.
So we
Jack
can't question
Jameson,
him.
like Sherilyn's mother, still suspects that foul play played a part in the Jameson family's death. This brings us to our bizarre fourth theory, that the Jamesons were murdered by a cult. Sherilyn's mother, Connie Coquetan,
I don't think it was a
believes
cult.
The Jamesons were killed by a religious cult in southeastern Oklahoma. According to
Only-
Coquetan,
that's
the
like a
cult had
3%
quote,
odds of it
hit
for me.
list, end quote, that Sherilyn was on. After Investigation Discovery aired a special on the Jameson family on the show Disappeared, Sherilyn's close friend Nikki Chenault said she received a phone call from an anonymous woman. This woman reportedly told Chenault that she'd once been in a white supremacy group that
The
kept a
fuck?
book containing a list of people who'd been problems for them. Sometimes, this woman claimed, if she could remember one of the names she had seen, she'd go home and look it up on the internet. This had led her to multiple missing persons cases, including Sherilyn and Bobby Jameson.
What?
Chenault said she wasn't sure what to make of the caller.
Cults, I don't know. Cults,
Yeah.
Cults are out there. They wouldn't initially just refute it outright.
Yeah, I'm
No,
with
it
Shane
just
on this.
sounds outrageous, given everything else in this scene's very much, par for the course when it comes to cold cases, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here's this cult.
A 1993 article in the Oklahoman stated that a few cults had sprung up around eastern Oklahoma, though a U.S. Marshal named James Webb had added, quote, there hasn't been any activity in a couple of years, end quote. It's also been suggested that the Jamesons were into witchcraft.
I mean, there's
A,
nothing
quote,
totally wrong with
witch
being
Bible,
into
end quote,
witchcraft.
was reportedly found in the Jameson home. Though, Nikki Chenault claims that Sherilyn Jameson bought the Witch Bible as a joke. That being said, their pastor in Eufaula, Gary Brandon, claims Bobby confessed that he was reading a, quote, satanic Bible, end quote. Additionally, mysterious graffiti was found on the large storage container kept on the Jamesons' property. One line read, quote, 3 cats killed to date by people in this area. Witches don't like their black cat killed, end quote.
There was a witch Bible
Yeah.
found in their house, which was written off as a joke, sure. But then the
Funny joke.
But the husband.
Look at this. A witch Bible.
But then the husband himself has admitted he was reading a satanic Bible, so
Which
obviously
could have
it
been
was
the
not a joke.
witch
Maybe
Maybe
Bible.
she brought the witch Bible home and was like, witch Bible, witch Bible, waka waka. And then he was like, pretty good joke, honey. Yeah, read that.
Oh, and then late at night when she's sleeping, he puts
And
on
she
his
was like,
little-
what are you reading? And he was like, funny book.
Sherilyn's mother also reported some odd behavior from her daughter. Quote, she became very illogical. One day she drove me to Oklahoma City and dropped me off on the street. She told me, get out of my car. So, I did, end quote.
Get out of my car.
Yeah, I was like the T-1000 right there.
Get out. You don't do that to your mother.
No, I mean, and that could be
Or-
other factors, but could it also be because she was maybe in a daze?
Or were
You
they
know, your
censoring
head
the
gets kinda lost
bleep?
in the fog when you're involved in some shady business, I suppose.
Are they censoring a swear?
My mom was the kind of mom who, if I said that to her, first she'd smack me,
Yeah.
and secondly, I'd have to get out. So,
Yeah, my mom once stopped the car and told me and my brother to get out.
oh
She
shit.
said, no, we're just kidding. We're not fighting.
What did you do to prompt that response?
I think we were just fucking hitting each other in the back seat or something.
Yeah.
You know, classic brother stuff.
And of course, the main evidence of strange behavior was the aforementioned security tape where the 2 Jameson parents appeared to be in a, quote, trance-like state, end quote. The Jamesons also reportedly claimed to have 2 to 4 ghosts in their home.
Oh boy. your cup.
Father Gary Brandon even told investigators that Bobby Jameson had once called him asking about, quote, special bullets.
Special
end quote,
bullets for
that
what?
could be used to shoot spirits.
You're not related to this guy in any way? You looked that up?
No, but I thought, I don't know if that belongs in the cult theory. Maybe they're in a religious cult where they believe that sort of thing.
Doesn't matter. I'm glad you included it.
It does contribute to odd behavior. And for the record, I don't believe in special bullets.
Which brings us to our fifth and final theory.
There's another
that
one.
drugs were involved. All of the
Give me
aforementioned
that one.
strange behavior from the Jameson parents could be explained by the influence of drugs.
Like, they
There
could
were
have been
actually
drugged.
rumors that the Jameson parents were involved with drugs, and some believe that the family was involved in a drug deal gone awry. As reported by the Oklahoman in May 2010, Sherilyn's mother, who didn't believe drugs were involved, said the couple had been in financial straits.
Oh,
Pure
they
speculation
could
here,
have been
but
trying
maybe
to
the $32,000
deal
in
drugs.
cash had something to do with a possible deal, as it makes no sense how the Jamesons had that money, let alone in the car they disappeared from.
People didn't know where the money came from. If they were making money off of some kind of
It would be
drug
off the
situation,
grid.
it would be, they're not keeping
The
record.
drug situation makes a bit more
This is
sense.
from the meth that I just sold.
They're not reporting that to the IRS.
Right.
Police initially
drug
suspected
theory
drugs
makes a bit more
after
sense
viewing
than
strange
the-
security
than the
footage,
cult
but former Sheriff
one.
Beecham said there was no evidence backing up the theory that the Jamesons used or dealt drugs. Yet, he also stated he could not rule out the possibility that drugs could have been somehow involved in the disappearance. To be fair, many have pointed out that the Jamesons likely would not have taken 6-year-old Madison
Yeah,
with
that's a
them
good point.
if some kind of drug-related event was taking place.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I mean, why would you take your daughter to a drug deal?
Don't do drugs, don't do drug deals. Don't take your children to any of the drugs or the drug deals.
Every time,
Or they could have been like, hey, let's bring our kid with us so we can drop off the package and for the money. Like, it's just like quick little things since we're on our way to this place.
in this case, I think
Which would be like
I've
a bad
come to
idea,
some
obviously.
kind of logical conclusion. I'm sadly mistaken.
Would it be easy, though, for them to cover up the evidence of their involvement with drugs? What if they were going to perhaps buy some drugs? In that case, someone shows up who's allegedly going to give them drugs. They've got the money that they're going to give to that person, though I don't know why that person didn't take the money.
Oh, and there's our daughter in the backseat. So,
Maybe the person was like, I'm not doing this, not with her around.
so instead, I'm going to kill all three of you and leave the money.
Maybe they just chased him.
But I can't wrap my head around the cash being left there and then the daughter being there. That doesn't make any sense.
Maybe the person didn't know the cash was there.
But they're going to a drug deal. Of course they would know the cash is there.
Maybe they tried giving them the briefcase and they didn't realize they didn't put the cash in it. They hand it over. The guy opens it up and he's like, "Where's the cash?" And they go, "Yipes!" And they run into the woods.
And then he goes, no need to check the car.
So like I said, there's a scary dog in there.
Former Sheriff Beecham has said that there were no suspects in the case. While investigating the disappearance, Beecham was quoted as saying, quote, "A lot of investigators would love to have as many leads as we do. The problem is that they point in so many different directions," end quote. Perhaps one day, those leads will point in one clear direction. But for now, the case remains unsolved.
That sucks. Hopefully they figure out what actually happened. See you guys in the next one.